What's up, guys? It's me, JellyKnees, and I want to talk about our fifth fun fact video, which is going to be all about the jungle, the thing that I'm most excited for in Ethereal. Being a jungler myself, this is the thing that I'm going to spend the majority of my time in, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. So, real in the background here, we have just one of the images of the jungle that we'll talk about in another update in a little more detail, but I want to cycle through these in the background for you guys while I kind of go over the information we got about the jungle specifically. So the jungle is going to have winding paths, huge trees like the one you can see on screen, and jungle minions and camps spread all over apparently, uh, which sounds incredible. They also mentioned that there's going to be 18 camps. Now the thing they didn't say specifically is whether that's per side or if that's on the map total or just one lane or anything like that. I think that this is likely to be per side based on the images that we got for the map in a later fun fact, but I could be wrong. But 18 seems like a lot. That would be 36 total per side. So maybe I'm wrong here and it's actually 9 and 9, but we'll have to wait and see for that. They did mention that there's going to be neutral camps, team-based objectives, and also like a primary boss being a Tropos. But they're going to have 4 buffs as well on the map. There's going to be a red buff, a blue buff, a green buff, and a purple buff. My guess is that the red buff and blue buff are going to be pretty the typical standard for MOBAs, that the red's going to be some kind of like on-hit damage over time type buff, while the blue will be some kind of mana regeneration. The purple buff, I imagine, will come from Atropos and will be some kind of stronger ability. It'll buff minions, buff your damage, something along those lines. And then the green buff could just be like a shield buff or a health regen buff that'll be in the jungle somewhere. If they do have that many camps, need to be a way to regenerate health while you're in the jungle. So hopefully that's going to be something we're able to explore and see not too far in the future. I mean, 2020 is almost over. In the blog post, though, they mention mini buffs as something, and they don't say, they mention that mini buffs are existent in the game, but they don't specifically state that the red, blue, green, and purple buffs are mini buffs. They just call them buffs. So I'm thinking kind of tinfoil hat a little bit here, guys, but mini buffs will be something smaller that junglers will be able to pass around. I'm thinking kind of like the river buffs in Paragon. If any of you played Paragon, I wouldn't consider those full-fledged buffs, but something small that might help just a little bit get through laning phase, get through something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing there. We have another image here kind of just going over the paths, seeing the paths go through the jungle. It looks like there's multiple paths going off in different directions, and it just looks incredible. So the main thing that I want to talk about here is this video that we got with the jungle blog post on the Ethereal website right now. And so right now we're looking at the Ice Wyvern, which will be one of the team-based objectives that you're going to need to work with your team on. Then we have some video of Atropos using several different abilities, and the Ice Wyvern did as well. We've got these weird vortexes on the ground, raining purple meteors, while Atropos is striking the ground at the same time. And then we move on to the Fire Wyvern, who's got clearly some kind of flame breath attack. In just a second here, we'll see a tailspin, which is very interesting. It looks like each of these team-based objectives or bosses are going to have a variable skill set that we're going to see, that they're going to have multiple abilities that you'll have to work around or see different windups on, which I think is a really cool idea. And they've said they don't want fights to just be whoever can left click faster or wait for their basic attack cooldown to come off. They want them to be dynamic. They want you to have to find smarter ways to beat these creatures, whether that be in the jungle camps or these team-based objectives as well. Atropos will normally have 3 phases, and it'll be various states of the game. Your team will go to kill Atropos, and then he will move on to the next stage. In the pre-alpha, they have stated that Atropos will only have his final form, being stage 3, and that the other 2 forms will be added later on in the testing development of Ethereal. But I mean, this looks already super intense, so I can't wait to see what the other 2 phases look like and how we get to this form of Atropos, because the images we've seen show him with legs, but the last model that we're seeing here in this video show him that it's just a torso up and he's sprouted wings. So I'm curious where that transition happens, that we see that change occur. But from the most part, it sounds like the jungle's gonna have this really high skill ceiling to master the different areas. I mean, between the different types of attacks that you're going to get on these team-based objectives, or Atropos being the boss of the map, versus the jungle camps potentially having similar things, that they're going to have different skills, different abilities you'll have to work around as a jungler to be able to be most effective while you're still rotating your lanes, getting the mini buffs, getting the regular buffs, doing all of those things. I'm really excited to see the complexity, but also the different layers that they have put into the game and in design choices. Something I do want to mention though about this video in particular is, so we see Atropos has at least one entrance there, but being that it's to Atropos's right side, we see another entrance to the left. I'd imagine that there's going to be probably two, maybe three entrances to each of these caves. If you notice on the Fire Wyvern as well, we see one to the left and right, and I assume that there's one behind us. And the Ice Cave has the similar properties, which will be very interesting to see the dynamics of how you can enter these areas. It looks like there are rocks in the way of one of these paths, so maybe you have to have a berserker to go in that direction, because it looks too small from our view in order to have just a regular sized myth, or maybe only smaller myths like Nikolai can only go through that way. I'm also curious about specifically this opening behind the Fire Wyvern, if the Sky Slayers will be able to fly through that opening and potentially take damage if they're too large, or if it's just blocked off in general for them across the board. But it should be really interesting to see all the different things that they're doing on their map and all of that. And I can't wait, guys. So that's going to be it for the jungle video right here. I appreciate you all hanging out. If you like the video, please hit subscribe and the like button. I really appreciate it. It helps me out a ton. But leave a comment, guys. What do you think about the different entrances and the different abilities that each of these creatures is going to have in order to work around as players? And what you think the jungle meta will be? What class do you think is going to take over the jungle? Is it going to be the Sky Slayers? Is it going to be the Knights? I'm more than curious and happy to talk about it with you guys out in the comments. But have a great one, guys. I'll see you in the next one. I don't know why I'm doing this, because we do this here